that's the first one.
I just want to...
That's the scene by the railway line.
Correct, Chairperson. What I would like to elucidate to this one is that immediately when they sing the song, and the clicking was not as slow as when they sing other songs. It shows aggressiveness in that.
That's the point you want to show us.
That's
now
the
you want to
point.
show us the other video. You indicated the point from which you wanted shown. So can we now see that, please? Unless they want to say something first before we do.
No, thanks, Chairperson. We can go to that one. Thanks, Chairperson. That's what I want to illustrate, the aggressiveness of the singing of the different songs. And that could give me an interpretation that when I was approaching them, they showed that they're aggressive and also the singing of that song.
Well, we've seen that, and presumably that may be the subject of comment later in argument, but I imagine, unless you want to ask something about it now, maybe you want to save your powder for a shot for argument later, but I'm in your hands, Mr. Mpofu.
No, Chairperson, I don't want to save my powder. Would you agree, General, that the tempo of the clicking will depend on whether it's a fast song or a slow song that is being sung?
No, Chairperson, it will depend in the manner in which the song is interpreted.
So if they're singing a slow song, will they click slowly? And when they're singing a fast song, by its nature, if we agree that the clicking is rhythmic with the song, surely it must depend on the tempo of the song, shouldn't it? I mean, that's obvious.
No, Chairperson. It's not about, it's about the choosing of the song with the situation. I'm sorry, Chairperson, I'm still answering.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. What I'm saying, Chairperson, is that if they chose this song and they were so slow like this, it couldn't give me an impression. But the situation, why when I approached them, they choose the song that I or all of us, we should tighten up something. And the clicking was very aggressive. That to me, it was intimidatory. And seeing such a lot of people singing such a song, and me, I'm not here, as I told them, I was not there to arrest them. I was just there to tell them that what you are doing, it's unlawful. And
you accept that the songs that they were singing were not designed for a certain General Mbembe, that they were singing songs that they were singing. That will be the evidence, by the way, that there was no song that was directed at you personally or even at the police.
Chairperson, I do agree with what has been said, but to me, choosing of the song went with the situation and they did want to achieve certain intentions.
Okay,
because,
well, accept, sorry.
Because what I'm saying is, why couldn't they sing the song when they started, when they see us? Why they choose of Qinisa Masende when they see us? And that's the point that I wanted to bring along.
The point that the song was changed when, well, this will be an argument, I take it, when they saw that the police had arrived on the scene.
Chairperson, according to the video, yes, correct.
Well, anyway, that's your interpretation of it.
Yes, Chairperson.
Yeah. And you based your contention on that?
Yes, Chairperson.
Now that's ridiculous, if I may say so. What, did they change a song in your presence?
Chairperson, I'm talking about the song when they sing when they move from the polls. Why they could not sing the same song when they move from the poll when they saw the police. When they saw the police, then they sing Qinisa Masende Mfana. Then that showed aggressiveness in the song. And who is this Mfana who must tighten up his testicles? It's the police. Chairperson, it's a clear, it doesn't need any scientific somebody to interpret the song. It's very clear.
Well,
And the situation from the beginning, it was not the same when the police approached them. And yet, we are community policing officers. We spoke with them, and it's known to the commission why I took a decision to lead the team.
okay. So if they had,
Sorry, can I ask a question first before
yes,
you
yes,
answer?
yes, Chairperson, of course.
According to the transcript, it's with QQ2, on page 1, line 10, are the words of a song, Siya Yisi Benzela, and the rest of the words are given, and the translation is, we work for my money, we work for it underground. And then later on page 3, there's a second song, Amalungelo, the other words are given, our rights, we are fighting for our rights. Now, this other song that we're busy with, the song about the boy and what the boy must do, is that a third song?
Correct, Chairperson.
So is your point that there's no reason why they couldn't have sung the first song or the second song when they saw the police? The fact that they chose to sing the third song conveyed to you something which you've endeavored to explain to us. Is that the summary of what you say?
Perfectly correct, Chairperson.
And your evidence is therefore, if they sang the other song that we heard many times, for example, Ingonyami Sekaya, which is slower than that one, you would have been happier.
Chairperson is not Ingwenyam or whatever, because the song itself, if they sang that one and they were as slow as that one, could also have conveyed another message. That's correct.
A different message.
Definitely, Chairperson.
Yes.
And that is a message of saying there were slow people, it's just the singing of any other song that the people they sing.
Thank you.
But the one that was sung when they saw the police, it's completely different
Yes.
from the beginning, and it had intentions. And the people who can only interpret their intention and to be aggressive is the strikers, Chairperson.
Thank you. So now we accept then that the song that you prefer, Ingonyami Sekai, is the song that they actually were singing when they left and passing the stone, correct?
Chairperson, I said I did not know, but I didn't, because I didn't hear the words well. But I don't dispute that.
Yeah.
And that is not what I'm speaking, Chairperson. But what I'm saying is the choosing of the song went with the situations.
Yes. Thank you very much. In other words, your evidence is now that at the important time, when Vermaak was saying that they were freed some, they were actually singing the nice song.
No, Chairperson, I don't know at what stage Colonel Vermaak indicated was freed some. I will be speculating. He's the only one to say when were they freed some.
Okay, forget about Colonel Vermaak. At the point at which they were passing the stone, and we'll play the video if you like, they were singing the nice song, not the bad song. Correct?
Yes, they were singing another song.
Thank you very much.
What I indicated there, Chairperson, I need to add, is that they did not hand their weapons to me as I requested them, and that it's a most fatal mistake of that day.
Yes, let's accept that as a fatal mistake or another dramatic term. But the song that they were singing was the good song which you prefer.
Chairperson, yes, the song was different.
Thank you very much. All right. Now, you were removed from the scene, correct?
Chairperson, I was told to enter into the Nyala and to go to the jog. In that sense, correct, Chairperson.
And you knew that there were people who were threatening to kill you?
No, Chairperson, I did not know, but I was told.
Yes, once you were told, you knew that there were people who wanted to kill you?
Yes, as I was told, I did not know who's that person.
Yes. Yeah, neither do I. I'm just saying people. Because under ordinary circumstances, you would not be ordered or removed by somebody who's your junior, correct?
It could have happened if that somebody or junior knows that your life is in danger.
Yes, that's exactly the point I'm making. Under normal circumstances would mean when your life was not in danger. Under normal circumstances, you would not be removed by a person who's junior to you or ordered around by your junior, correct?
No, Chairperson, not necessarily a junior, any person.
You'll forgive me because once again, I might take it to the area of speculation. But you are aware that, or rather, did you observe the seriousness of the injuries on Lieutenant Baloi? Or were they serious?
Chairperson, to know about the real injuries, it was later because as I have testified already, I entered into the Nyala and while they attended to him. So on that scene on that day, I didn't see him, but I know that he was taken to the hospital.
Yes, fair enough. But you know now that he was seriously injured?
Yes, Chairperson.
And you also know that he was airlifted immediately after he sustained his injuries, or as soon as possible.
I also heard so.
Yes. And I know you are not a doctor, but you would agree that had he been left there for about an hour, he might not have made it.
I don't know, Chairperson.
Yes. Do you, given the rapidity with which Mr. Baloi was airlifted to hospital, which, and you're quite right, may or may not have saved his life, do you have any comment about the fact that the strikers, when they were shot, were left there for, I think Mr. Chaskasin will say, 59 minutes before any medical assistance came?
I just want to understand the question.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. It covers 2 days, so it might be confusing. I'm saying, given the fact that Lieutenant Baloi was immediately airlifted, and that may or may not have saved his life, do you have any comment about the fact that on the 16th, when other people were injured, some of them riddled with bullets, they were not immediately airlifted, but were left there for about an hour?
Chairperson, I'm not in a position to comment because I was not there.
Yeah,
on all the things that I could say it's a hearsay evidence. But I thought that it was on the 13th, but now that it's on the 16th, I was not on the scene.
I would have thought it's a matter of comment for the Commission to make if it's appropriate. Not sure what the witness would say if he were directly commenting on it, but I'm not sure his comment would take it any further from the comment that we would make when we've heard argument from the various parties. It might be advisable to leave it as a matter to raise during the argument stage. And obviously, if you raise the point in argument, you have my assurance we will deal with it in the report. Either we will accept your comments or not, and if we don't, we will say why.
No, thank you, Chairperson. I won't belabor the point. I was only raising it with him because he was overall responsible for everything, including medical assistance, which may or may not be provided. But
you may technically be responsible for everything that happened on the 16th in the vicinity of the copies and the two scenes and so on. But did you at the time know anything about the fact that seriously injured people were left on the ground, insofar as this is supported by the evidence, seriously injured people were left on the ground without receiving medical attention for approximately an hour? Were you aware of that at the time, insofar as it is maybe true?
No, Chairperson, I was not aware, but the plan that I approved provided medical assistance to the nearest where we are going to disperse.
Lieutenant General, sorry, Major General Naidu, I think, was at the first, the forward holding area with paramedics and ambulances and so on. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson. That is the plan I approved.
Yes. And
but the attendance thereof, it could have been ordered by those that we were at operation.
Whatever the reason was for what happened or didn't happen, that's something you can't help us on.
Correct.
If you had been aware of the fact that there were seriously injured people lying there who were in a position to receive medical attention and for some reason were not getting it, what would you have done? If you'd been aware of it at the time, what would you have done?
Chairperson, surely we could have communicated to those on the ground to make that to be attended, because on the 13th that was not the case. Because also on the 13th, we did provide medical assistance like in the 16th.
On a similar theme, I understand that two of the strikers were killed. Well, three were killed. One was killed, I think, more or less at the field where the fighting took place. One was killed some distance away on the other side of the river. And one, as we've heard, was killed in circumstances we're not sure about yet, in the informal settlement. But I think some were injured as well, is that right? Some of the strikers on the 13th?
Chairperson, on the scene, maybe they ran away also. On the scene, I did not see the others that were injured. But what I do know is that there was one who died on the scene, like Warrant Officer Monene. And there was also Warrant Officer Lepak, who was also being taken to the hospital when he died. Then the other two strikers, the one died in the village which we were speaking about, the other one died over the river. But those, Chairperson, I did not know of. It was the time when I said the operation should hold who were on the scene.
Now, are you aware of any striker being injured? Not fatally, but injured.
Chairperson, what I'm saying is correct, that there were other injured, but they were not there on the scene to be attended.
If you'd been aware of if they had been on the scene to attend it, what would you have done?
They could have been attended, Chairperson.
After that incident, did you know, and that means you personally and maybe generally as the police, Did you know who was at fault between the strikers or the police?
Chairperson, I don't understand who was at fault, where and so on.
On the 13th?
Chairperson, I don't understand the question.
Which part
Give-
don't you,
give-
is
give
it
us-
fault
give us-
or you?
give
Which
us the
word
question
don't you
again.
understand?
Sorry, Mr. Mpofu. Mr. Matabedi, I think, wants to object, but I'm not quite sure what the question was. Would you rephrase, would you repeat the question,
Yes.
please? And then if the objection is persisted in, we'll have to consider it.
At the time or subsequently, did you know whether it was the police or the strikers who were at fault in respect of the incident of the 13th, sorry?
Chairperson, it's,
Mr. Chairman, I think this is an issue or aspect which the Commission is called upon to make a finding on.
Well, perhaps... Sorry, were you aware, subsequently, of any facts which would be relevant to decide and would indicate that whether one or other of the parties, i.e. the police or the strikers, were responsible for what happened on the 13th?
no, Chairperson, except to state what I have already said, to say the strikers refused vehemently to hand over weapons to me.
Yes, you've told us that.
And
You've also told
secondly,
us that
is that
Yeah, sorry,
I
carry on.
did also say that for the strikers to attack the police, I said spark off the tear gas and the stun grenade.
You also added that subsequently in your evidence, in your re-examination, that you had reconsidered your decision not to take steps against Warrant Officer Kuhn. You decided to institute disciplinary proceedings. I think that was your evidence in re-examination. Is that correct?
Yes, Chairperson, I said I will do so by that time, yes.
Okay, by the way, while we are on that point, you promised, I think it was the 31st of August or somewhere there, that when you finish your evidence, you are going to take those steps against Warrant Officer Kuhn. Have you taken those steps now, seeing that it is now November?
Chairperson, Warrant Officer Kuhn is in Gauteng province. Normally what we do, we write the letters to another province. So then, in terms of the disciplinary proceedings, the commander, on receiving of the letter, then he's the one that start to investigate the misconduct. Then I'm supposed to submit the statement, and I believe the investigation is still taking place. But I cannot say because I have not yet been called to the hearing. But
Correct.
the
Sorry.
investigation is being initiated.
Yes. So you wrote the letter. You wrote the letter to the commander in Gauteng.
Chairperson,
That's
and normally what we do is that the deputy responsible for disciplinary is the one that I speak to her, and then she will write that letter.
Has that been done?
I'm not sure, Chairperson, I can find
Sorry.
out.
Did you speak to her?
I did speak to her.
So from as far as you're concerned, you've done what you had to do up to this stage to get disciplinary proceedings underway against Warrant Officer Kuhn. You spoke to the Deputy Commissioner responsible for disciplinary matters, is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
What she did, you can't tell us.
Yes,
What's been
Chairperson.
happening across the border in Gauteng, across the boundary in Gauteng, you also can't tell us.
Yes, Chairperson, except that if I am not called or I'm not asked to give a statement, then I can inquire why. But I believe that there will be a time where I can be requested to give a statement, and thereafter I can be called to the departmental hearing.
When did you speak, when did you lay the complaint, if that's the correct time?
Chairperson, precisely the date I'm not sure, but it was immediately after my cross-examination and when I left the commission that time.
And who's the name, what's the name of the person to whom you, or with whom you communicated? The name of the person?
Are you saying the deputy or
Yes,
the
I'm
name
saying
of?
the
You
deputy.
talked about the Deputy Commissioner responsible for disciplinary matters, to whom you made the complaint, as it were. What is her name?
Is Major General Molefe.
Thank you.
And what did you say to Major General Molefe?
Porphyro, I don't know that that's going to help us at this stage. He told us he laid a complaint, said he thought disciplinary proceedings should be brought against Warrant Officer Kuhn, and reported that to Major General Molefe. Do we need more detail than that at this stage?
Well,
Unless you're going to
if the
suggest...
commission doesn't, it was the commission that was promised this thing, so I don't care whether what he said. I just thought if he promised that he would do something, if the commission is not interested, then
Well, it
neither
sounds-
am I.
No, Mr. Porphyro, that's not right. Of course we're interested. But and I'm not sure if Warrant Officer Kuhn is going to give evidence, which he may. But certainly we would want to know what the position is before we start writing our report. So you can be assured that we want to know.
I know. Look, General,
Sorry, may I interrupt you, Mr. Porphyro? Advocate Hemrod makes a suggestion which may save time. Mr. Matabele, can you please make inquiries, take instructions on the matter? Perhaps if necessary, if you want the full ambit of the inquiries you should make, you can speak to Mr. Porphyro afterwards and endeavour to get up-to-date information on the point about which Mr. Porphyro is asking questions.
Thanks.
And then it can be placed before us and, of course, given to Mr. Porphyro.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. We shall do so.
thank you. General, sorry, that was just a follow-up on the issue of the complaint. But the question really I was asking you was about the... should I read from your answer that if it is true that injured people were left lying there for about an hour, that would have been a deviation from the plan that you approved?
Chairperson, I just wanted to find out whether is it on the 13th or on the 16th?
16. Well, on any day.
So the question relates to the 16th. You told us that you had, in your plan, in the plan that you were involved in, provided for paramedics and ambulances and so on to be available at the forward holding area, so that if people were injured, steps could be taken to give them medical assistance as soon as possible. I think that's the evidence you gave. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson, to say to provide medical assistance
Yes.
already in the plan and to be nearer
Yes.
is exactly for the purpose that where they are injured, they should attend to them.
Now, it's about that Mr. Porphyro is going to ask you a question.
Okay, Chairperson.
Yes, thank you. I'll repeat the question in fairness, General. Now that we know we're both talking about the 16th, I'm saying if it is true that that injured people, severely injured people, were left lying there for about an hour without being attended to, that would have been a deviation from the plan that you had approved, correct?
So, Mr. Chairman, is this question being based on the premise that all the people that were injured on that day were, attended after?
What was put
Yes.
earlier was that according to information given to us by Mr. Chaskerson based on the timeline and an analysis of the videos, it appeared that some, I'm not quite sure how many, but some people were only received medical attention, or began receiving medical attention, something like 59 minutes after the shots which caused their injuries were fired. I think that's the basis of it. Is that right, Mr.
That's
Porphyro?
correct. Well, it's stronger than that. It's not that some people, it's that no one received any attention until 59
Oh,
minutes.
yeah, okay. Well, that answers the question that was put to you. What's your answer to that? What you were asked whether, if that's so, and insofar as that is so, would that be a deviation from the plan that you approved and expected to be implemented?
Yes, Chairperson, but those that were on the ground, they could explain if there was any deviation, why the deviation will take place. But at this moment, I cannot say there was a deviation. If it was, yes, it could be a deviation from the plan, but those on the ground, they could give an explanation why.
Basically, it sounds, I'm changing your answer slightly, it sounds as if there would have been a deviation, but whether there was a satisfactory explanation for the deviation is something you can't help us on. The people concerned would be the only ones who could give the answer to that. Is that effectively what you're saying?
Correct, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Now, I was saying that I was now going to deal with the event of the 13th at a broader level, insofar as I said to you this morning, we're going to argue that they constituted a major turning point. Remember that explanation I gave in the morning, right?
Chairperson, there were many explanations. Maybe if it, I'm asking that it could be specific as they were specified in the morning.
Yes. Okay. I said in the morning to you, one of the turning points, at least that we're going to argue, or game changers in this whole saga, was the fact that policemen were killed on the 13th. You remember that?
Yes, Chairperson, I remember the incidents of the 13th.
Doesn't mean you agree with me.
I think answering the question. Mr. Mpofu suggested there were certain what he called game changers, events which changed the complexion looking forward of what happened over the period at Marikana. And he listed them, and one of them was the events on the afternoon of the 13th, which you've testified about. And that's correct, isn't it?
Now I'm moving into
then
that topic.
ask your question about that.
Yes. First question is, according to you, you agree or disagree? According to you, until that point of the 13th when those members were killed, you had regarded the situation as a normal, well, maybe not normal, but you regarded it as a crowd management operation. Correct?
Chairperson, my testimony and also my statement is very clear that by the time on Monday when I arrived there, I could realize that that could be a combination, taking into account that the people were possessing dangerous weapons.
General, can you please answer my question? You can disagree or agree with me. Is it correct or is it not correct that until that incident where the policemen were killed, you regarded the Marikana situation as a crowd management operation?
No, Chairperson.
Or to put it even stronger, you regarded it as a normal crowd management situation?
No, Chairperson.
Then, can you go to paragraph 22 of your statement? Sorry, the original statement.
We've got three statements by him. Which
Yes.
one are you referring to, the supplementary one or the main one?
The main one, Chairperson. I'm sorry, I just forgot the exhibit number.
I think you're referring to triple G12.
That's correct. It's the triple G one. Triple G12, if you can go to paragraph 22 thereof. Can I read it out to you?
What paragraph number 22?
22, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you. It's on, I see it's on the screen.
Yeah. You say there, following the attack on the police, I formed the view that this was not a normal crowd management situation. Is that correct?
It's correct, Chairperson.
So somebody reading that would be forgiven for saying that after the attack on the police, as you call it, you formed a view that it was no longer a normal crowd management situation, correct?
Chairperson, I'll say yes with an explanation. It is my evidence before this commission that I took a decision personally to have 2 caps on Monday. And that could also show that that was not normal. And the reasons I explained very clear, following what has happened before. But Yes, on Monday when I arrived there, what I said is when I saw the people were injured, but taking into account what has happened on the weekend, I could not have just decided that I personally take charge of the situation on the ground as a general.
I'm not sure whether you took that view, but we know that on the Sunday, 2 security personnel were killed. We know that 2 cars were burnt. We know that that evening there was an incident at Korea, I think, where, at K4 actually, where 7 vehicles were burnt, 1 pedestrian was stabbed, and another minor who was employed at K4 was taken to hospital where he died. So it looks as if 2 people were killed that night, mine workers at Korea. Vehicles were burnt. Early in the day on the Sunday, 2 security personnel were killed and 2 vehicles were burnt. There were other incidents, it appears from the occurrence book of London and of the police. There were incidents of intimidation. Was it really just an ordinary crowd management situation that was existing at Marikana? I'm talking about before the police were killed.
As I've said, Chairperson, no, it was not a normal one. And also I say that's also the reason why I personally went to speak to the miners themselves.
So yes, I understand. Sorry, can I interrupt you? Just put one further thing to you. According to the police occurrence book, which is triple F25, dealing with a Monday now, before the incident, of course, in the afternoon, I see there's an entry at 3:30. There's a reference to people gathered at the Sichwa Elang Vonoko Bridge, throwing something, throwing at vehicles passing by. Captain Safiki was informed. TRT members were deployed, and then there's a subsequent reference also to TRT members on the scene. What's that? It's further on in the occurrence book, again on the Monday morning. So it does appear that TRT members were deployed to Marikana together with POP members prior to the events of the Monday afternoon. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson. And they were with me when I go to do the interception.
Yes. So do you normally deploy TRT members in normal crowd management situations?
No, Chairperson. It is always in support of POP where we consider that the POP will need that support.
Yes. So I see you did say in the statement, and Mr. Mpofu is quite right to draw attention to it, you did say in your statement that you formed the view after the attack on the police that this was not a normal crowd management situation. But looking back, have you any views as to whether it was a normal crowd management situation after, for example, the death of the 2 security personnel and the burning of their cars and the killing of the 2 mine workers on the Sunday night and the damaging of the cars and the incidents of intimidation and so forth? All clearly attempts to enforce what's the word? Strike. What's the other kind of strike? An unprotected strike. Would you regard, in other words, putting the clock back to, say, noon on Monday, even 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning, was it even at that stage to be described as a normal crowd management situation?
No, Chairperson. And I want also to add that that's a reason why I personally intercepted. And QQ2 can also explain when I say to the crowd managers, to the strikers, to say, we are the police, we are here and concerned of what was happening.
Yes.
Sorry, but did you at any stage prior to the 13th formed a view that this was a normal crowd management situation?
No, Chairperson. That's also the same reason that why I intercepted, and that could also be seen with my communication to the strikers to say, we are the police, we are here and concerned of what was happening.
Would you agree that that does not make sense? If you had always, at all material times, held the view that this was not a normal crowd management situation, then what is stated in paragraph 22 would be senseless. That following the attack on the police, I formed the view that this was not a normal management situation.
Chairperson, what happened there actually confirmed my view, in my view. But it could have changed if the strikers themselves handed the dangerous weapons to me. Because if the strikers did hand over the dangerous weapons to me, and it came out clearly, Chairperson, that they were actually the leaders of those that were at the copy, they could have made the work of the police more easier to let the others get disarmed because they could have listened to them.
That cannot be correct. The people who told you that their leaders were at the copy, they told you that. Agreed?
Chairperson, no, Chairperson, I am saying it came out later on that those that I intercepted on the 13th, they were actually at the copy. And it turned out later that those could have been the leaders because later on, Chairperson, is the evidence before this commission. They formed what we call the 5 brave Madoda.
We're busy with that. I want to draw your attention to a passage in your affidavit, triple G 12. It's paragraph 5. It deals with something that happened shortly after 10 a.m. on the morning of the 13th of August. After you'd been briefed about certain things that happened, that had happened at Marikana by people from London. Paragraph 5 reads as follows: shortly thereafter, Brigadier Karlitz, who was monitoring the London CCTV footage in the dock, informed us there are about 2,000 to 3,000 people at the Vonnegut Koppie. The Koppie. Later, some of these protesters left the Koppie and were seen headed in the direction of the Korea mine. They then marched back from the Korea mine towards the Koppie. And then it goes on about how you received instructions to deal with those who were marching illegally from the Korea mine. So it does appear from that passage in your statement that in fact you knew already, before you set out for the area next to the railway line, that the people whom you were going to confront had been at the Koppie earlier that day, were part of a group of about 2,000 to 3,000 people, but that's the group that left the Koppie, had gone in the direction of the Korea mine and then for some reason turned back and come back towards the Koppie. That was, according to what you say in paragraph 5, was something you knew already before you received the instructions which you set out in paragraph 6 from the Provincial Commissioner. Is that paragraph 5 wrong, or can we accept that it's in accordance with your recollection?
Chairperson, as I've said,
Sorry, your answer?
Chairperson, as I said, I also earlier on in my testimony is that he was not monitoring. I corrected the monitoring to say he only showed me on the on the Lonmin CCTV TV. Then he said he was also informed. Then when he informed me,
Yes, I'm sorry.
but it
Yes,
was
yes.
actually confirmed by the protesters themselves when I was there.
Yes, yes.
He said, General, these are the people that, but I'm also informed. So he was not sure, but here I was saying what I was told by Brigadier Khan.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had forgotten. I'm glad you reminded me of the correction that you gave us in respect to para 5. But the point is, you had that knowledge, albeit by hearsay, before you received the instructions from the Provincial Commissioner at 12:45, and before you set out to the area next to the railway line. You knew they'd come from the Kopi, they knew they'd gone towards Korea Mine, they knew they'd come back and were going back towards the Kopi. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
But when I asked you the same question this morning, you said you heard it from the strikers, correct?
Chairperson, I was saying I heard it from the strikers who were actually confirming what I was told.
That's fine.
It was just a hearing evidence by then.
Okay, the record will speak for itself
The
on that
record
one.
may speak for itself on that.
The record will speak for itself. Anyway, the point I'm dealing with is that all these tragic things that the chairperson has enumerated to you do not seem to have featured in your mind. What you have put in paragraph 22 as the turning point, if I may use my own phrase, is that following the attack on the police, okay, you formed the view that this was not a normal crowd management situation, or it was more abnormal, or whatever, but it was a turning point.
Chairperson, I said no. For the main reason is, that's one of the reasons also I went personally to do the interception.
General, I'm prepared to accept that the situation described by the chairperson is not normal, okay? There were already 4 people who had died. As the chairperson said, there were 7 cars or whatever that had been burnt down. All I'm saying to you is that the killing of the police, if that was on a scale so abnormal 4, the killing of the police was a turning point which made it abnormal 10, correct?
No, Chairperson, I am on record to this commission that since after the incidents of the weekend, the operation was rated 3.
All right. Now, then what is stated in paragraph 22 doesn't make sense if things were the same before and after the killing of the police, as far as your views were concerned, correct?
I said, Chairperson, that if the protesters gave me the dangerous weapons, we could have been speaking currently, even today, a different story. But that was the confirmation of the view that I had, and I put it on record again. If I didn't form up any view, I could not have been personally, as a general responsible for operations in the province, have gone there personally.
Yeah. Yes, in other words, what you are now telling the commission is that the killing of those policemen did not change your view as to how bad things were. It was just another day in the office.
No, Chairperson,
Is
that's
that
not
you're
what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
Well,
What I'm saying is, Chairperson, I repeat and I'll keep on repeating it. If the protesters themselves gave me the dangerous weapons, we might not have been speaking about the killing of police officials.
General, that is mightily irrelevant to the question I'm asking you. Do you understand that? I'm saying to you, forget about if the strikers, what have you, you've been saying that all morning. All I'm saying to you is this. You are telling this commission that the issue of the killing of the policemen had no bearing whatsoever on your assessment of the situation. Is that what you are telling the Commission?
Chairperson, this is not what I'm saying.
Tell us what you are saying.
Chairperson, I said the killing of the police officials confirmed the view of this is not a normal crowd management. But what I'm saying, Chairperson, is if the protesters gave me the dangerous weapons on that day,
Yes, you've explained that. If they'd given the dangerous weapons, it wouldn't have happened. Yes, I understand that. But I think what Mr. Mpofu is trying to get to, perhaps we can make this point just before we take the tea adjournment. What he's trying to get you to say is, did your, and if I'm wrong, he'll correct me, did your assessment of the seriousness of the situation remain the same after the incident where the police were killed, or did you from that point on regard the matter as even more serious than you had previously seen it?
Chairperson, as I'm saying is that it was rated 3. Chairperson will understand that the levels of crowd management in terms of assessment that is serious, more serious and so on. It was rated even before I came there as, that's why I was talking about level 3.
Is that the top level?
Yeah, just
That was the top level. Presumably, there are even grades of seriousness in the top level, but
Yes.
it was already in the top level before you got there.
correct, Chairperson.
Yeah. But never mind the official levels. Did you regard it, and did the SAPS generally regard it as even more serious once this incident took place in which the police were killed?
Correct, Chairperson.
All right. That sounds like a suitable note upon which...
I am so indebted to the chairperson. We can have tea now, chairperson. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you for acknowledging your indebtedness. We'll take the tea, Joe.
Thank you.